The day Evelyn married Henry was one of the happiest of her life. She had always dreamed of a loving family, and though her path to it had been unconventional, she felt like she had finally found her place. Henry's 5-year-old son Thomas was a bright, affectionate boy who warmed to her almost immediately. It wasn't long before he started calling her mom, a title that filled her heart with both joy and a touch of trepidation. After all, Thomas's real mother, Clara, had passed away only 2 years prior. Evelyn was determined to honor her memory while building a bond with Thomas. The adjustment period went more smoothly than Evelyn had anticipated. The cozy two-story house Henry had shared with Clara became her home, and she busied herself adding small touches to make it feel like a fresh start for them all. She replaced some old curtains, moved furniture, and rearranged the kitchen to her liking. Henry was supportive, though occasionally wistful. Thomas, too, seemed to thrive in the warm, stable environment. One evening, about a month after the wedding, Thomas approached Evelyn while she was reading in the living room. "Mom," he said in his small, serious voice, "my other mom still lives here." Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" she asked, keeping her tone gentle. Thomas's blue eyes locked onto hers. "She's here. She likes to watch us." A chill ran down Evelyn's spine, but she told herself it was just a child's imagination. Clara's absence had left a void, and maybe Thomas's mind was filling it with comforting illusions. She kissed his forehead and reassured him. "I'm sure she's watching over us from heaven." But Thomas shook his head solemnly. "Not heaven. Here." The next morning, Evelyn woke to find the living room rearranged. The sofa and chairs were back in their original positions, the way they had been before Chidu moved them. She blinked in confusion, wondering if Henry had changed them back. When she asked him, he looked as puzzled as she felt. "Maybe Thomas was playing around," Henry suggested, though his tone lacked conviction. Strange occurrences became frequent. Family photos of Clara that Evelyn had stored in a drawer reappeared on the mantel. The new floral curtains Shidu hung were replaced by the old faded ones Shidu taken down. Even the kitchen, which Evelyn had meticulously organized, was mysteriously rearranged to match Clara's original setup. At first, Evelyn tried to rationalize the events. Perhaps Henry was subconsciously clinging to Clara's memory. Maybe Thomas was acting out in ways he didn't fully understand, but the airy precision of these changes unsettled her. One night, she found a handwritten recipe card in Clara's elegant script on the counter, even though she had packed away all Clara's belongings in a labeled box in the attic. Evelyn confronted Henry. "Do you think Clara's trying to tell us something?" she asked, her voice trembling. Henry's face paled. "Evelyn, Clara was a wonderful woman, but she's gone. Maybe we are just imagining things." That night, Evelyn dreamed of Clara. She was standing in the kitchen, her face serene, but her eyes intense. "Take care of them," Clara said, her voice echoing as though carried by the wind. "They are yours now, but don't forget me." When Evelyn woke, she felt an odd sense of peace. She decided to embrace the house's quirks rather than fight them. She replaced some of Clara's photos and kept a few of her favorite decorations alongside her own. She even started using some of Clara's recipes, much to Thomas's delight. But not everything settled into harmony. One evening, as Evelyn was folding laundry, the room grew cold, so cold she could see her breath. She turned to find Thomas's favorite toy, a plush bear, sitting upright on the bed. She was sure she had left it on the shelf. The bear's position, His gaze, fixed on the door, felt unnervingly deliberate. Another night, as Evelyn prepared dinner, the kitchen lights flickered. Then the knife she had been using to chop vegetables slid across the counter and fell to the floor. She froze, staring at the blade glinting under the fluorescent light. Henry walked in moments later, his calm demeanor unshaken, despite her visible distress. "Paul Sudge maybe," he suggested lightly, picking up the knife and handing it back to her. His nonchalance grated against her unease, but she said nothing. As days turned into weeks, Evelyn began to notice Henry's odd behavior. He was always quick to dismiss the strange occurrences, brushing them off with casual explanations or jokes. Yet there were moments when she caught him staring into space, his expression distant and strained, as though he knew more than he let on. One night, Evelyn awoke to the sound of faint whispers. She followed the noise to the living room, where she found Henry sitting alone in the dark, speaking softly to an empty chair. "I'm doing my best," he murmured, his voice tinged with guilt. "I just want them to be happy." Evelyn's breath caught. "Henry," she called, her voice trembling. He turned to her, startled, his face shadowed in the dim light. "Couldn't sleep," he said quickly, rising to his feet. "Go back to bed, Eve." But Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that he had been speaking to Clara. The following day, she searched the attic, determined to find answers. Among the boxes of Clara's belongings, she discovered a journal. Inside were pages filled with Clara's thoughts, detailing her love for her family and her fear of leaving them behind. One entry caught Evelyn's eyes. "If I go, I'll stay as long as they need me. I can't bear to leave them alone." Evelyn closed the journal, her hands trembling. Clara's presence wasn't malevolent, it was born of love, but the weight of her lingering spirit was taking its toll on their lives. That evening, Evelyn confronted Henry. "You've known all along, haven't you?" she demanded. "Clara is still here." Henry's shoulders sagged. "I didn't want to scare you," he admitted. "She's protective. She wants to make sure we are okay. But maybe I've let it go on too long." Evelyn took his hand. "We need to help her move on, for all of us." Together, they created a small ceremony, lighting a candle in Clara's memory and speaking their love and gratitude aloud. Thomas joined them, his innocent voice adding a poignant note to their words. As the candle burned low, the house seemed to exhale, its tension easing into a profound stillness. The strange occurrences stopped after that night. Evelyn felt a bittersweet relief, knowing Clara had finally found peace. And as this family moved forward, the house, their home, was no longer haunted by the past, but filled with the warmth of a shared future.